Hey everyone, welcome back to Vernacular Japanese, the Japanese they don't teach you in the textbooks. Okay, so in today's episode, we are going to be going over expressions in the Kansai dialect. So these are generally going to be a couple of words or general phrases that are used a lot in the Kansai region. To start things off, we're going to go with the phrase Ohayo. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, I've already learned this. That's just how you say good morning, right? Ohayo or Ohayo gozaimasu, depending on the politeness level. Well, yes and no. In the Kansai region, and generally only in the Kansai region, it's okay to say Ohayo at any time during the day if you're speaking to your friend for the first time. So even if you're seeing your friend at like 5 or 6 p.m. in the evening, it's perfectly fine to say something like, Kantaro-kun, Ohayo. It's 100% okay, even though it is not the morning. If you go outside the Kansai region, this will sound a little bit weirder. Generally, they would say konnichiwa or something like that. However, in the Kansai region, it's perfectly fine just to say ohayo at any time during the day. And this is actually something that is very, very useful in the Kansai region if you're there, because you don't have to remember any of the other stuff. You don't have to remember how to say konbanwa, konnichiwa, ohayo gozaimasu. You can basically just remember ohayo and you'll be perfectly fine. I've even heard this. I had a friend who was speaking to her boss, and she actually was calling her sometime probably 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and she actually greeted her boss with ohayo gozaimasu. So you can actually use that with someone who is a superior to you. However, I was told that this generally is only to be used with someone who you are close with that's superior. So, for example, this person and their boss had known each other for years and years. So she felt comfortable saying ohayo gozaimasu to her. If you don't know the person, yet again, it's that same rule with dialects. If you don't know the person, it's best just to say konbanwa or whatever time of day, actually use the correct phrase. However, with friends, while I was studying there for college, it was great just being able to say ohayo to all of my friends. And I have a couple Japanese students that come to my current university right now in America, and they are from the Kansai region, and I still say ohayo whenever I see them at whatever time of the day because it's perfectly fine. The next phrase that we're going to go over is probably anyone who knows any little bit of the Kansai dialect knows this phrase, and that's akan. Akan is basically the translation of, or it's basically the word dame, but for the Kansai region, it means not good, undesirable, something like that. It actually comes from the phrase rachi ga akanai, which basically means the gate does not open. And it was a phrase that was originated from horse racing, and when the gate didn't open, it's like something that's not expected, the race hasn't started, and eventually moved its way down, getting shorter and shorter until it just basically means undesirable or bad, something like that today. I would say in English it kind of translates to darn or something like that. It's not a bad word at all. And recently, this has actually become a very important word in the Kansai dialect because it's actually taken on grammatical structures, which we'll see later on in the series. That akan is actually used in grammatical structures. Okay, moving on to the next one. Everyone's heard of shikata ga nai, which, means it can't be helped or something like that. It's a very Japanese phrase. Something happens, rain cancels an event or anything like that. They're like, shikata ga nai, can't be helped, something like that. However, in the Kansai region, they shorten that down a whole bunch, and they actually shorten it to shanai. So it's shikata ga nai, but basically shortened way down and made easier to say. And you'll generally only hear this in the Kansai region, and that's going to be shanai. So instead of the standard shikata ga nai, if you're in Kansai region, you'll probably hear shanai. Okay, and the final phrase we have is another super important phrase that you've probably heard in Japanese all the time, which is so desu, or soda, or something like that. So in the Kansai region, you'll hear a lot of people say either so yana or so nanya, something along those lines. And that is basically going to be the Kansai equivalent of so desu or soda. And just a more vernacular way of saying so desu and so something like that is you'll hear a lot of Japanese people say so, repeating that a whole bunch of times really, really fast. You hear this all the time in Japan, actually. Especially in the Kansai region, actually, you'll hear this a lot. So if someone's saying something that you agree with, you can just reply with, so. It's, we do the same thing in English, we're like, yeah, or something like that. Even Italians do the same thing. In Italy, you'll actually hear people say si a lot. It's just one of those phrases that in agreement, you can say it a lot really, really quickly. But the very, very Kansai version of soda or soldes is either sol yana or sol nanya, something like that. Okay, so that is 4 expressions in the Kansai dialect. In the next episode, we're actually going to dive into a little bit of grammar in the Kansai dialect, and we're going to be covering the copula. So that means des and da and stuff like that. So I will see you in the next episode where we start studying a little bit of grammar. All right, everyone, see ya.